Okay. Yeah.
Okay, we are here right now, late in the day here. The assaults are continuing onto Breeds Hill. The redoubt, you can see behind me the Bunker Hill Monument, which was built, of course, years later after the fact, but stands on the location of where the American redoubt was. Now, Rob, who's behind the camera, he can pan over and show you Chestnut Street. This is really kind of where the main British assault is coming up from. They're coming up from down at the bottom of the hill, up this direction, almost at an angle, through what is today modern houses, and assaulting the redoubt right up there. That's where a lot of the assault. There are also British troops coming up from the other side as well. But we're kind of in the vortex of where the fighting was happening in the late afternoon of June 17th, 1775. And as they get up closer and closer, like I said, they're marching up over the dead bodies of the men who had failed in the previous attempt. And on the second attempt, as they finally get up to the redoubt, the Americans, at that point, running out of ammunition, the British are going to be able to go over the parapet, and a lot of hand-to-hand combat and brutal fighting is going to take place over there where the redoubt was. But today, like I said, all built up. You wouldn't think of it that it was a kind of farmland at the time. You will see some of the flags up here today. Don't tread on me flag. Somebody on their car has a Bunker Hill flag. A lot of people realize the importance, history of this location, and a lot of people don't realize how much history actually happened over here. But I'm going to pass it over to Billy here to talk about Pitcairn, who is going to give the ultimate sacrifice for the British cause right in this area.
That's right. For those of you who followed us during our 250th coverage of Lexington and Concord, you probably recognize the name Major John Pitcairn, the Marine officer with the British who was accompanying the column that was heading towards Concord as Lieutenant Colonel Francis Smith's second in command. Well, Pitcairn is going to be here at Bunker Hill as well. He's still with the Marines. Originally, he commands a contingent of about 600 Marines. By this time, he's going to command a reserve force of several hundred. And his Marines, who we basically were following their footsteps coming up the hill here, they are going to go in towards the end of the assault when the British actually break through the American lines on the redoubt. And Pitcairn himself, by this point, has already been wounded by 2 bullets, but he continues to lead his men forward, and he'll lead them over the redoubt behind us into the American lines, where he receives 4 more wounds, one of them proving to be mortal. He actually falls into his son's arms, Thomas, who is an officer, and Thomas cries out, "I have lost my father." Pitcairn will be carried back into Boston, taken to the North Church, and he'll initially be buried there. Later on, when a lot of these British officers, their remains are being repatriated, brought forward, and sent overseas back to the United Kingdom, there will be an effort to send Pitcairn home, but unfortunately there is just a set of remains that is sent back to Britain, most likely not his. So Major Pitcairn, as Mark said, gave the ultimate sacrifice here at Bunker Hill. He most likely still rests somewhere here in Boston in the North Church.
And I just want to mention, too, this battlefield, because it has been built up, has made it difficult to understand how this battle actually played out. Today, the National Park Service owns the park back behind me that interprets the story of the Battle of Bunker Hill. But we're right here at the corner of Chestnut and Mount Vernon Avenue, and this is really where the frontal assault is coming. If you go up to the park today, you will see a statue of William Prescott standing there, but he's facing in the other direction, and that's where the redoubt was built to defend from. But it has become confusing because you think that's where the British were coming from, but they are actually coming from this side of the redoubt. And so it's really kind of neat to be over here where a lot of the major action happened. That, like I said, a lot of people don't realize that this is all part of the battlefield. And this is why battlefield preservation is so important, because a lot of times you think that the areas that are most significant have been cordoned off and preserved for future posterity, but a lot of times that had never happened over the time. The monument is a great reminder of the importance of this battle and why it should be remembered. And while that area has been preserved for future generations, the actual field on which thousands of British soldiers marched across oftentimes has not been preserved, and that's been built up. But regardless, we are standing on the site where they actually marched through on their way to take the redoubt at Breeds Hill. And an amazing site to be at. If you ever get a chance, come down to Charlestown, check out this site. Go visit the Bunker Hill Monument. And if you need a drink afterwards, the Warren Tavern is just at the bottom of the hill. And I also want to give a little a shout out to our friends at Liberty Cigars. We are smoking some Joseph Warren cigars here, right here on the site. Of course, Joseph Warren, one of the greatest heroes of the American Revolution. Our friend Christian Despigna wrote a great biography about him. Calls him the pen, the voice, the sword, and the scalpel of the American Revolution. Probably one of the most important Revolutionary War heroes that's often been forgotten, because he ends up giving his life over at the redoubt as the Americans were retreating. And of course, we're going to come to you with another video to talk a little bit more about that. Thanks for following us.